Hi, this is Michael William Denny of the ThunderWizard.com YouTube channel. So I am going live. My apologies for not letting you know ahead of time that I was doing it. This is just a lot of what I do. I feel inspired lots of times, and when I'm inspired, I need to get it out because this is how the universe works. So today I want to share with you, let's see, what is the title that I said? The very outrageous title. The one truth you absolutely need to know to master your life. So, the idea behind this teaching that I'm sharing with you is that everything that I teach is summed up to teach this one truth that I want to share with you today. And if you can master this one truth, then you will get the most out of all of my teachings. Now, the truth is, in my opinion anyway, not only will you get the most out of my teachings, you'll get the most out of everything. In fact, if you can master this one thing, you won't need anything else. But you will be able to tackle anything that's brought before you, or anything that you want to get out of life. Anything that you want to learn from somebody. If you can master this one thing, you can master everything. If you're not able to grasp this one truth and or put it into action, then you're going to have various levels of success in life. If you turn away from this truth, then you will have to suffer the consequences of that on an energetic level, which means that maybe you'll be unhappy, you'll be unsuccessful, you might be physically unwell, you might be mentally unwell. It doesn't matter. Those are all symptoms of just simple imbalance. But if you follow this one truth and you master it and learn the depths of this one truth, you won't have to worry about anything, really. But you can definitely have mastery over your life. You can master the things that you are driven to learn. Notice I'm not saying you can master anything, because the only things that are worth mastering are the things that you yourself are driven to learn. If you can master this one truth, you can master those things which you are driven to learn. And most importantly, you will be happy and healthy in life. Physical health, mental health, emotional health, psychological health, relationship health, all of these things are interconnected. You cannot have one without the other. And if you're out of balance in one of those areas, you're going to be out of balance in all of those areas. And there's a core. And this truth I'm going to share with you is a core truth that will branch out into every other aspect of your life. And it's incredibly important. And on one level, it's very hard to comprehend because it's very deep and complex and subtle. And at the same time, it's the easiest thing to understand. For some people, it's very contrary to who they are, but at the same time, it is who you are. So, that's what I want to talk to you about today. So when I was practicing, when I was learning the Taoist martial art that I practice, it was more than a martial art. It was a shamanic discipline. It was a spiritual art. It was an art that taught you how to master energy. They used to teach us a mudra. It was a hand seal, and it was, a small hand sign that you would do in the beginning of class, and it was called the master hands or the teacher hands. And the idea behind the teacher hands was that if you mastered the teacher hands, you could master all of the techniques in this particular art, not only in a self-defense application, but also in terms of energy work. And you never had to use this, unlike a lot of martial arts, you never had to use this in combat. If you mastered just the forms, the energy would flow through you, and then you would be able to do all kinds of other magical things. So it was a gateway to mastering energy. So if you could master the teacher hands, you would master the art. Now, nobody comes into this art mastering the teacher hands. So they learn the teacher hands, and then they know that everything else they learn is based on the teacher hands. So you go and you learn the other forms, you do the practical applications, you're sparring with other people, whatever it is. You are then looking for how the teacher hands are in everything that you're doing. And then over time, you then keep coming back, because everything you do teaches you about the teacher hands, and the teacher hands teaches you about everything that you're doing. That particular form called the teacher hands. And when you get to the place where you've mastered all of these other things, then all you need is the teacher hands, and you never have to practice the other things again, assuming you've achieved a state of mastery. Because then from then on, all you have to do is apply the teacher hands to your life, to your energy work, to your martial arts, to your understanding, to your mindset, to your meditations, and you will gain mastery. So that's why they're called the master hands or the teacher hands. So what I'm going to teach you today, what I'm going to share with you today, is a truth. It's a core concept of everything that is not just about, how to live a good life and be successful. It's not just about go out there, tiger, and take life by the tail. It also teaches you about a energetic truth, a law of energy. So I'm going to be teaching you about the laws of how energy works, of how life works. The rules of the matrix. I've shared that. I'm going to share with you what that really means. So it's okay if you don't if you're not able to completely live this truth I'm going to share. What's most important is that you go after it. In fact, if you do try to absorb and adopt this teaching, you will run into challenges. And that is what life is all about. We are here to master time and space. We're here to master our own soul. And in order to do that, we have chosen to incarnate in these bodies so that we would bump up against limitations and overcome them, just like in a video game, so that you can master life. So I don't know if anybody's online. Yeah, we've got 6 people online. Okay, so I will go ahead and take questions at some point, but first thing I need to do is I just need to get this message out. It's inside of me. I need to get out of it. So I write notes because notes make me feel comfortable, but the truth of the matter is that I usually just say what's coming through me, but this helps me to feel more comfortable. So I'm going to give you a phrase, and I want you to memorize this phrase because it is absolutely a truth. And this phrase is, you are either creating your life or manufacturing your death. You are either creating your life or manufacturing your death. And being a writer, I choose my words very carefully. So if you meditate on the words and the meanings of the words, it'll form a picture in your mind and you'll be able to energetically see what I'm talking about. So you are either creating your life or manufacturing your death. Your life is not static. Your life is an eternally moving energy. We are continuously moving through time. This is where the understanding of weird. Go back and watch the videos where I talk about weird and how time is created. By the way, you cannot have time without space. That's why they call it space-time, the space-time continuum. So you cannot have manifested reality outside of time. So weird is talking about not only how time flows, but how matter is formed. So everything in front of you, this pen in front of me, is not static. It is continuously being destroyed and remanufactured every, I don't know how small you can measure something, but, trilliseconds of time, it's being destroyed and remanufactured. Some would say by my own intention or by your own intention. And the way that reality is created is through, we have the ever-present moment. That is everything, the ever-present, continuously moving moment. That is your soul. Your soul is that. It is life force energy that is continuously, in every split second, continuing to recreate itself, to redefine itself. You never stay in one place. It's an illusion that you stay in one place or you are one thing. The only reason that I stay this, that I stay a man, that I stay, Michael William Denny, 5'9", 195 pounds, whatever it is, the only reason that I stay that way is because I keep reinforcing that. I keep reinforcing that story, which keeps recreating me every single moment. So we hear, myths about people who are shapeshifters. Shapeshifters are people who change the story. In order to change your shape, you have to change the story of who you are. And then you change your shape. So we are continuously creating who we are every single moment of every day. That never stops. And so that's where weird comes in. We have the ever-present moment, which creates the past. The past is who you say you are. Whenever you say, I am this, I am that. I believe this, I feel that. Whatever it is. Every time you say that, you create a past pattern, which then you keep going back to. And you keep referring back to that in every moment and recreating yourself. And that determines all of the decisions that you make in life. And all of the decisions that you make in life create your future. So that's why I say you are either creating your life or manufacturing your death. I've been on this planet long enough now that I have seen people. Some people I've known since I was a tiny little kid. And I've watched them. And all my life I've watched people. I remember once when I was a little kid in grade school. And I think I was in second grade. And there was this little kid there, and he used to, he was like the geek. He had the glasses, the horn-rimmed glasses, and, he was, very slight. And I don't know if he was even that smart, but he was very much, the geeky, nerdy, outcast guy. He wasn't physically very, powerful or adept or coordinated. And anyway, you get the picture. So at recess time or at lunchtime, he had this little wooden helicopter, and he used to play with this little wooden helicopter all the time. And I remember I would look at his face, and the look on his face, he always looked upset and angry. And I remember having this flash that, that look on his face, if he continues with that feeling, that angry, unhappy feeling, he's going to be an old man. And in a flash, I saw him as an old man. I saw that those angry old people you see walking around, guess what? They were angry little kids. He was in the moment of manufacturing that state of discomfort and unhappiness. Now, I'm not saying that that's what had to happen to him. We all have the choice at any given moment to change the narrative. We have the choice at any given moment to choose to change the narrative of who we are, which changes the past, which creates the future. So I'm not saying that he had to be that way. I could just see in that moment that's where things were headed. And then I went out, and I remember I was a little kid. I was in second grade, and I remember being out wherever I was at the store or with my mom when she was grocery shopping or whatever it was, and looking at all the people, and I could see in them, in their face, the years of lifetime of attitudes that had created what they were. And I saw angry old people or whoever it was, and I saw. So I didn't put it all together. Now I'm able to put it all together, and I realize that I was learning that you become what you are in this moment, and what you choose to be in this moment, and what you reinforce in this moment is going to create what you're going to be. So that's why I say you're either creating your life or manufacturing your death. And our ancestors had a phrase, our ancestors had a teaching, the Norse people, and that was, if you died in battle, you went to Valhalla. And if you died of sickness or old age, you went to the underworld. And of course, being a warrior culture, they put a lot of value on dying in battle. Now, I have come to believe absolutely that dying in battle does not mean dying with a sword in your heart in battle. It means dying fearlessly. Because when, those people, when they went to war to protect their family, their tribe, their piece of their homeland. And so that's what battle has to do with living fully your life and experiencing your life and getting satisfaction. And anything that comes to threaten that, you are willing to sacrifice your life, right? So that's the outward symbol. But what it really means is that every day of your life, if you want to go to Valhalla, meaning if you want to experience ultimate spiritual liberation, then live your life in every moment as though it is your last, as though you have nothing to hang on to, as though you have nothing to lose, which means that you take risks, that you're not afraid to do something. I counsel people on the phone, every day, and a lot of the time I spend telling people, because they want to go, well, I have this job and I need the money, but I really hate it. And I'm like, quit your job. Yeah, but I have this mortgage. Well, so what? Sell your house. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to be? How much time do we spend manufacturing our death by trying to stave it off? By trying to defend yourself from death, you invite it. By fearlessly going after your life, even though you're taking the risk that it might kill you or bankrupt you, you attract life. You want to be prosperous? Be willing to lose all your money going after your greatest dream. This is how we die in battle. And you die with a smile on your face, as opposed to living your life staving off death, inviting it, and then creating your death through those choices by running away from your soul, from the things that give you the greatest joy and the greatest happiness. So I want you to memorize that phrase. You are either creating your life or manufacturing your death. So here is the most important lesson now that I've given you all of that. The most important thing that you need to know in order to master everything, but most importantly, in order to be completely fulfilled in your life, is that you have to live only for yourself. You have to be selfish. Now, I know a lot of you are like, what? I've been taught not to be selfish. I've been taught to be selfless. But here's the irony about that. If you live your life truly for yourself, meaning your soul, if you listen to your soul and you follow the things that give you joy and fulfillment and energy, and you exclude anything, and you fight off anything that would try and divert you from that, if you do that, you will have everything. And you will also be a source of healing and life to all of existence. Because you are everything. So if you do damage to yourself, you do damage to everything else. If you damage other things, you damage yourself. So it's not possible for you to go after your highest good and cause other people harm. It's impossible. Now, there are people who will tell you that when you choose to go after the truth of your soul at the expense of maybe what they say you're supposed to be doing, there are people who will give you the belief that you are killing them by doing that. In fact, your Catholic mother, your Jewish mother will say, "You're killing me," right? We hear that all the time. "Oh my gosh, you're going to marry her? You're killing me." No, you're not. You can't kill or hurt anybody by going after the things that give you the greatest joy in life. You can't do it. So the difference between what I'm going to call greediness. Selfishness, true selfishness, is to follow and listen to that desire. Listen to those things that inspire you, those things that you want. When you do that, you're living for the self, and I use the self with the capital S. The self, not only yourself, but the universal self, which is everybody else's self. By living that way, you automatically raise the vibrational level around you, and anybody, if they want to be in your life, have two choices. They can either rise to your level and also achieve that happiness and fulfillment for themselves, or they can walk away and leave you. When they're in that middle point is when they try and talk you out of that, and they try and convince you that what you need to do is whatever it is they say, whatever their agenda is. So I want to ask you a question. Do you ever feel guilty? Are there relationships or circumstances in your life where you feel guilty because you're not enough for somebody else? Well, you may think that that guilt is coming from a desire to be a good person or to be helpful. It's not. Guilt is nothing more than rage turned inward. So whoever it is that you feel guilt toward, you feel rageful toward them. And you feel rageful toward them because you have an experience that they are getting between you and your soul's desire. Now, because for whatever reason you have a belief that you're supposed to take care of those people, that that's your duty as a good person or whatever, you can't help but feel rageful at them for getting between you and your true desires. Now, none of this may be happening on a conscious level. But if you have guilt in your life, it's because you are full of rage over something or somebody who is getting between you and your highest soul's desire. So how do you overcome that? What a lot of people do is they get involved in drama, right? And then you get involved in the fighting of the back and the forth and the drama of all of that. Well, that's obviously not where we want to go either. But that creates its own little diversion where you feel like you're fighting for yourself. But the truth is, here's another truth that goes along with this, and I've been sharing this. There are no victims. And I don't care who you think of. Think of the worst possible scenario. I've said this before. There are no victims. So, I get a lot of people who contact me. I try and tell people, listen, if you want to contact me, if you have a question, please put the question in the video comment section, because by answering that question, I can not only help you, but I can help everybody else who's looking at those comments and questions. So it's a way for you to give back to the community by you asking in that way. If you contact me directly via email with just a question, then we can't help others, and so that's not inspiring to me. If you contact me via email because you want to pay me for my time and my services, that's different. Then that's a contract between the two of us, and we don't have to then talk to other people about that. But if you're just emailing me because you have a question, put it in the comments section so that everybody else can benefit from it. Now, I'm bringing this up because I'm sharing with you again, this is how I live my life. I don't live my life for anybody else. The only way that people get access into my personal life is because I am better off with them than without them. Because my time is the most valuable thing that I have. My time with myself. Even if it's just lying on my bed watching television, that is more valuable to me than anything else, because I value being with me and being myself. I've lived my life this way, and this is whenever I've run into problems in my life. And there's been 2 or 3 major points in my life where I was in, just really out of balance and really unhappy and poor and miserable and sick and all of those things. And at numerous points in my life, I've always asked myself this question. And I play a game with myself, and I stop if I'm miserable, and I stop and I say, okay, I'm going to play fantasy here. If I could be anywhere and do anything and I didn't have to worry about other people or money, what would I do? And whatever it is that comes up in my mind, I play that fantasy. And the same thing always happens. I go, oh, wait a second. I don't have to do anything. There's nothing keeping me here. I can choose to go do that. And then I do. And whenever I strike out, and I go after those things, even if it means losing everything. And I've lost everything multiple times in my life. I'm always better off than I was before. So this truth about living for yourself and making yourself happy is not only the key to being successful financially, to being successful personally, in a relationship, but also your physical health. And I am of the opinion, and that this hasn't changed, I'm of the opinion that all disease, physical disease, is a result of only one thing. And that is sacrificing the fulfillment of your soul for something else. And it can manifest in all kinds of different ways. One of the easiest ones is, when people live their lives like martyrs. They live for other people. When people contact me and they say, my life is miserable and blah, 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 I'm about to lose my house. I'm like, so lose it. No, you don't understand. Where am I going to live? I don't know. The universe will provide. Go after what you want and the universe will provide for you. So this brings us back to what I said earlier. You are everything. So if you live your life in a way where you are diverting yourself from yourself, you're diverting yourself from the source of all of the resources, the source of all of your life force energy, the source that will provide you with the material resources to give you what you want. It comes from your soul. When your soul is happy, your soul is everything, and everything provides for you. So if you're miserable, you're unhappy, you're sick, you're mentally in pain, emotionally in pain, whatever it is, then there is some way in which you are being diverted from living from your true soul. So, anyway, let me take a look at my notes here and see where else I am. So here, now we come back to something else, which is, well, what about other people? Nobody needs you. Nobody needs you. I mean, obviously, if you've got an infant child or something, you have a responsibility. But again, you chose to have that child. This is another thing. I have no sympathy for parents who complain about how difficult it is. Oh my God, I can't sleep. I've got this kid. I'm like, well, nobody put a gun to your head. Especially nowadays, we have these things called condoms. You can use them and you can prevent having children most of the time. But even so, even if let's say, something happens and you accidentally have a child, well, then that means your soul has chosen to have a child. So you're still not a victim of that. And if there's anybody in your life, especially if they're, over the age of, 16 or 17 or 18, they are completely capable of functioning on their own and taking care of themselves. You don't owe them anything. And nobody owes you anything. Because all of the resources that are available to you are also available to those people. And the only thing that they need to do to get access to that resource is to follow their soul desire. I learned this a long time ago when it came to people who were, when I was counseling people with things like drug addiction and things like that. And what happens when you have people like that is that it becomes very easy for you to want to help them. Oh my God, if they could only, and I hear this all the time, well, if he could just believe in himself, he wouldn't have to take the drugs or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is that there's nothing that you need to do for them. And there are people who, whatever it is, whatever scenario that they have brought themselves out of, healed themselves from, or found help getting out of whatever problems that they were trapped by. Those people had the exact same amount of resources that you and everybody else has. So there isn't anybody who doesn't have the ability to reach into their soul and tap into infinity. So one of the other things that I know when I'm counseling people is that when they complain about how miserable their lives are, and they honestly believe that they are a victim of circumstance, then instead of, and what they want me to do is they want me to help co-sign their misery for them about how horrible their life is. Instead of that, I stop and I say, you know what? I know for a fact that you're not going after what you truly want. They say, how do you know that? I say, because you're miserable, because you're poor, because you're sick, because you're broke, because you're in a bad relationship or whatever it is. Because if you go after what you truly want, you will face challenges, but you won't be complaining about your life like that. Your life will get better. And anyway, I could go on and on about the pointlessness of trying to amass wealth, the pointlessness of trying to stave off death. All of that stuff is just a waste of time. All of that is time that could be spent focusing on making yourself happy. Now, if you do this, you may have to go through a huge revolution in your life. As I said, you may lose everything that you have going after what truly makes you happy. You may lose your marriage. You may lose your family. You may lose your job. You may lose your house. You may lose everything. But remember, all this idea of having to amass wealth and houses and cars and 401ks and all of that stuff comes from the false belief that you are not everything and that you need to surround yourself with these protective measures because you live in this universe that is trying to destroy you. So you have to change the fundamental belief that you have about yourself in the universe, which is that the universe is looking to provide you with all of the resources necessary in order for you to achieve your greatest satisfaction in life. But in order for that to happen, you have to take the risk to go after that. And then we run into the fear of losing all these other things. And your wife might leave you, and your husband might leave you, and your parents might be mad at you, and you might get kicked out of school, or you might get fired from your job. All those things are signs that those things, those people, are not in alignment with your highest good. And so good riddance to them. They have a choice. They have a choice to either rise up to your level or not. And one of the ways that you know that a relationship is over is when you start fighting with somebody over nonsense. Like, which way should the toilet paper roll go? And, did you turn off all the lights and, toothbrushes and all that kind of crazy stuff. When you're fighting over that kind of nonsense and you can't seem to get it together, even though you've gone to counseling and all that other stuff, it means probably that you've paid off your karmic debt to that person and it's time to move on. But those kinds of roadblocks in life, if you keep bumping into roadblocks in your life, it's the universe actually stopping you saying, hang on a second, you're going in the wrong direction. So this, I'm talking about, the secret. The secret says that what you focus on is what you manifest. And that's only partly true. People take that to mean, well, if I focus on being rich and having a bunch of cars and being a billionaire, nope. If those things are not in alignment with your true soul, then you're not going to manifest those. And first off, those things aren't going to give you happiness. So if you think you need to have the stuff in order to be happy, you're wrong. You have to be happy first, and then the stuff will find you. And the only stuff that will find you is the stuff that you actually need in order to accomplish the things that make you happy. See what I mean? I mean, if I want to go surfing out there, the only thing I need is me and my surfboard. If I trade to take on 6 or 7 surfboards and take them out with me in case I need a better surfboard, I'm not going to be able to catch any waves because I'm trying to hang on to 6 or 7 surfboards. I'm a surfer, so this is why I'm talking like this. But the same is true with anything else. We try and carry along with us all this stuff because in case we need this, that, or the other thing. But the universe will provide whatever you need if you are in alignment with your soul, because the universe is your soul. So if you give your soul what it needs, your soul will give you, your body, what it needs. Okay, so I think I've hammered that part of that to death. So nobody needs you. They have everything too. So this comes back to, when people take a lot of pride in giving themselves to other people, in reality, lots of times it's because they want something. So this is something you want to ask yourself. If you are one of these people that carries around this burden of trying to help other people, and you take a lot of pride in the idea of, I give my life to all of these people, and what do I get back from it? You have to ask yourself, what is it you want from them? Because nobody owes you anything, and you don't owe anybody else anything. So if you make the choice to give of yourself to somebody, then you should only do it because it brings joy to you. There are some people who are made to be service-oriented people. There are people who are made to be healers and givers, and it gives them joy to do that. So do that if that's what brings you joy. But just because, if you're doing it because you're trying to get something back, you're going to be miserable. Give it away. Like when you lend money to a friend comes to you and asks for $1,000, say, you know what, I won't lend it to you, I'll just give it to you. Why? Because if you put them in a position where they owe you money, it's going to ruin the friendship. So the same thing with people in your life. If you're giving to them, give to them for free. And if you don't want to give that to them, then stop doing it. You're not helping anybody because they have everything too. Now maybe they are in a position where they've lived their life in such a way where they've diverted themselves from their soul and they're sick and miserable and in pain, and they tell you that they need you to do such and such in order for them to be happy. It's not true. They can make the choice at any given time to trust in themselves, to trust in the universe, and to go after what they want. And they can have everything that they need, which may be different from you, but they can have everything they need in order to be fulfilled and happy. The universe will provide them with whatever they need. So, if you are fulfilled, you will automatically fulfill others. So that's the other aspect of it. If you're worried about how do I live my life and be a good person and serve other people, then the first thing that you should be focused on is your own happiness, your own fulfillment. Because by doing that and by fulfilling yourself, you automatically help other people fulfill themselves. And your presence will be fulfilling to them. Okay, so we talked about... Now, the difference between selfishness and greed, again, is that true selfishness, the way that I'm using it, is that you are living your life in such a way that your soul is satisfied. That is true selfishness, and again, if you do that, everybody else is empowered by your empowerment. So what is the negative side? Selfishness does not mean stealing from other people, taking from other people. Those people who steal from others, who abuse others, who manipulate others, who take from others in one form or another, are people who do not believe that they have everything within them. Those are people who believe that the universe doesn't love them and won't provide for them, and so they feel they need to get their needs met somewhere else, so they steal it from other people. So that's not selfishness. Because in order to believe that, you have to divert yourself from your soul. Does that make sense? So you see the difference between selfishness and greediness, what I'm calling greediness. And so now this comes back to, what does this have to do with shamanism? The shamanism that I teach has to do with energy. I'm simply teaching you how the laws of energy works. Different from religion, which keeps you locked in your intellect over things that you can't make sense of. You know, like go to your priest or to your minister or maybe even your rabbi and ask them, what is the difference between the soul and the spirit? And you won't get one answer that matches anything because they don't know. Because to them, the idea of the soul and the spirit is an intellectual idea because they're operating from this arbitrary religion that puts these arbitrary rules on life. Whereas a shaman is an energetic scientist. A scientist says, I don't know what the truth is. Let me make some experiments and see what the laws of energy is and how they work. You know, people are asking me about these latest videos I put up about the dwarves and using the dwarves in ritual to manifest, to get what you want. And I keep wanting to go back to this subject, which is, you know, people want to get all wrapped up in all these definitions on what a dwarf is and what all that stuff and what does it mean. And it's like, well, you're missing the point here. The way to get the dwarves to work for you is when you understand how energy works. And the best way to learn how energy works is what I'm telling you to do. Listen to your soul. When your soul is unhappy, you are literally unplugging yourself from the universe. You're unplugging yourself from that continuous flow of energy. When you put yourself in alignment with your true soul, then you become being filled with energy. So that brings us to another point, which is very often in the beginning of this process, when people are having to break away from people, institutions, ideas, habits, religions, and going after what makes them happy, they run into a lot of resistance. And it's a very frightening, painful place to be because you don't know what's true and what's not. You don't know what is your soul and what is not your soul. And so the only way is through trial and error to really listen to your soul. Does that give me joy and happiness? Or am I running into fear because I'm now breaking the rules? So that's something that can only be learned through trial and error. That's what having a advisor or a counselor is good for, because they can be an objective mirror and mirror back to you what they see, help you make those choices. But everything comes down to this. To me, I see everything as energy. And so again, you know, I had somebody contact me recently saying that, you know, they really wanted my help because their life was such a shambles and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're missing the point. You've got to stop being a victim first. Then everything else, all these other techniques I tell you will have value. But if you don't understand that first part, no matter what else I teach you, it'll be meaningless. Because you won't be operating from how energy flows. And energy flows in the Gebo rune, you know, the rune of giving is an exchange of energy. There is always an exchange of energy. So your soul is in constant exchange with the universe. There's this constant exchange of energy going back and forth. When you are connected to what makes you happy, you are not only receiving energy, but you are giving it out. Because when you're in that place, you're going to have plenty of energy to give to other people in ways that feed you, in ways that make you happy. And then those people will thank you. In the work that I do, right, I charge people for my time. They pay me for my time because I give them something that they need. And they make an exchange with me by giving me money, which is what I need in order to pay the bills and all that. And we have this exchange of energy. Your soul is in that same position. There's always an exchange of energy. Think about lovemaking. You know, the ideal lovemaking is when two people are getting their own pleasure while pleasuring the other person at the same time. There's that exchange of energy. You can't live in this universe without that. And if you live in such a way where you are not either receiving energy and or giving it, then you are blocked off from the flow of energy. And then you start to have imbalance. And the imbalance can show up in your mind, it can show up in your emotions, it can show up in your finances, it can show up in your work, it can show up in your physical body. You know, all illness is a result of that. And so everything else that you do, all the doctors that you go to, all the diets that you do, all that stuff is important. But if you don't understand that the main source of all of your energy is coming from your soul, all those things will be much less effective. And this is why some people, have life-threatening illnesses and are able to heal themselves, and why other people, no matter what type of medicine they're receiving, they still end up dying. That's why. It's because at some point, that flow of energy in their soul is blocked, and it manifests in the body, and the body cannot sustain itself without the soul. And so, anyway, I could go on and on, but that's a whole other subject. So, let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to say here. I think I've covered pretty much everything. So again, before I open it up to questions, I just want to make sure you understand that in order to master all the things that I'm teaching in the videos, all the things I'm teaching in the Master Shamanism class, you have to understand that the first and foremost thing is you must live your life in such a way where you are honoring your soul and feeding your soul. And your soul tells you. You don't have to go, well, what does my soul really want? You don't have to ask that question. Because your soul will tell you through your desires, the things that you fantasize about and dream about. When I ask you if you could do anything and you didn't have to worry about money, what would you do? That fantasy, that is what your soul wants. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's the tough part, because lots of times that means taking that risk, as I said before. So anyway, I have talked for a while now. Let's see, I've talked for 47 minutes. So now if you want, I can open it up to questions. Let's see. What about praying for people? Renee says. Okay, praying for people. What is it that you're doing in prayer, right? Praying for people means you go to God. First, we have to look at the basic assumption that you're starting from. So if you're praying for people because you are operating from the belief that somehow they don't have all of infinity available to them, then you're operating from a mistake, a misunderstanding. So if your prayers are built on that, then you can see your prayers aren't operating from a place of strength either. So in my experience, I shouldn't use the word never because I'm not sure if that's true, but I have very rarely gotten any positive impact when I go, oh, please give me this, I need this, if I just have that. Every time I do that, I can feel the universe going, But if I make the demand about something for myself, like for my health or my happiness, I hear the universe go, good, let's give them what they need. So if you're praying for somebody else, are you operating from the belief that they are somehow have less than you? Are you operating from the belief that somehow they are a victim and that they do not have all of the universe available to them? If so, then you're not praying for them. You're praying for yourself. Like if you're worried that somebody is going to be sick or somebody's going to die, let's be honest, that fear comes from we don't want to be without that person. And so we pray for them to be healed. Why? Because we want to be with them. We want it. We're being selfish. Now, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you acknowledge that. But if you also understand and acknowledge that you don't need anything other than your connection to the infinite universe, then whatever pain may come from the loss of a person, you know that you'll be able to survive it. And you know that it's that energetic exchange that they have. So praying for other people, the best prayer that you can have for them is to acknowledge to them, on an energetic level, meditate that you have everything. If you want to go after what will truly make you happy, the universe will take care of you. And understand that this is a truth, that everybody knows this on the deepest level of their minds. And they may have a karmic debt to themselves where they have to fight to get to that awareness. But that's none of your business. That is between themselves and their own soul. And so the best thing that you can do for people who are in need is to be available to them if and when they want your help. And the only real help that you can give them, I mean, I'm not saying you can't comfort people and give people food and clothing and take somebody in. I'm not saying you can't do that, because of course the only reason you want to do that is because your soul is happy doing that. But the best way to give to people is to give them the integrity and the respect that says, listen, this is your issue. You can work this out. I'm not the one that has to work this out. You have to work this out. I'm not saying you tell that to people, but you know that internally. There are times I walk by homeless people who are asking me for money, and my gut says, no, that guy's going to use that money for drugs. I'm not going to give him my money. Oh, why aren't you going to feed the poor homeless guy? Well, I don't know what caused him to be homeless. He's not a victim. I know that. He ended up there because he created that. How he created that, I don't know. Do I have a karmic connection with him that I need to help him somehow? Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but my soul will tell me in that moment. So praying for other people, if it makes you feel better, but understand that you can't tell somebody else's soul what they're supposed to do. They have to figure that out. So, anyway, I don't know if I answered that question or not. Let's see. Let's go back here. A lot of questions. I'm just looking over the questions here, so just give me a little bit of time here. Okay, so I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions here. Okay, here's a pretty interesting question here by the Roman, which says, what is your perspective on, I'm assuming there's some typos here. What is your perspective on you are your reality. All other consciousness is just a version or an agreement between you and your higher self. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. This is something that's part of the multifaceted holograph of the universe, which is that according to physics, according to theoretical physics, I'm not a scientist, so forgive me if I get some of it wrong. According to theoretical physics, there has to be infinite numbers of timelines going on simultaneously. Infinite, meaning there's no end, meaning absolutely everything that you can imagine. If you can imagine it, it has to be happening right now in an alternate timeline. So what we're doing in the moment that we're creating, every time we're creating a moment, we are making decisions and choices which then put us onto one of these multifaceted, infinite numbers of pathways that are in front of us, all around us, whatever. And so how is it that some people can be on one path and you be on another and we be sharing our space together? I don't know that I can answer that question. I don't even know if I understand that question, but I do know for a fact that the choices that we make literally change the reality that's unfolding in front of us. Now, what happens is that I'm using this hand to represent my left side, which is the narrative, the past, what you say about yourself. I talked about this in the beginning. If you're watching this live, you may have to go back and watch it from the beginning. But I talk about how we are continuously creating ourselves every single moment based on our narrative. And our narrative is who we say we are. I am this, I am that. You know what I mean? And every single millisecond, we keep recreating ourselves. So in order to change that, of course, every time you do that, you keep creating the same reality, or you keep yourself on the same, timeline. In order to change timelines, you have to change your narrative. So in order to change your narrative, you have to change your choices. So I'll just give you an example. I remember when I was, how long was this, 4 or 5 years ago? I was living in Idaho. I was married. I was unhappy, and I was filled with physical pain. You know, I was in my late 40s, and my knee was swollen up to the point where I couldn't walk very well. I had constant pain everywhere. I had shooting pains. I had tendonitis. I had a sciatica. I had back pain. My back was constantly going out. Muscle spasms. And the doctors were telling me, basically, well, you're just getting old. You can't do this anymore. You can't do that. Blah blah blah. And I sat there and I made the decision and I said, nope, I refuse to accept that. I refuse to be sick. I had made the decision. I am too young. And there are way too many things I want to do in life with my physical body, and I refuse to be sick. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but when I came to that very sharp emotional conclusion about that, and I was absolutely, totally, completely committed to that truth. And I had no idea how I was going to change it, but I knew that I was. I just didn't know how. And I wasn't going to take medication or go that route. I was just going to be healthy, and I didn't know how. What I didn't realize at that time was that I shifted realities right then and there. Now, because I still had that old narrative playing, that kept on recreating itself, I was kind of pulling myself away from an old narrative as I was creating a new one. And so it took time before I saw the physical manifestation of that. Now, the physical manifestation of that now is that I'm in better shape than I've ever been in my life. I'm in better health than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm stronger, I'm healthier, I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm doing things that, even people in their 20s and 30s have a hard time doing. I have the best health I've ever had. I'm happy, I'm comfortable, all of that. And it's because of that moment. I remember that moment. Now, I have to keep making that narrative, but because I made that narrative of who I am, and I stuck to it even though everything around me kept on telling me otherwise, even though I was still racked in physical pain, even though I was still in a marriage that I couldn't make work, and I was living somewhere I didn't want to live, and I didn't have the money to move, even though all of those things were true, I still had changed my narrative and I stuck to it. And eventually, because I stuck to that narrative, which is I kept creating the past, which creates the future, I started carving out a new timeline for myself, and that's where I am today. I created my life. Again, you are either creating your life or you are manufacturing your death. And I know that sounds harsh and dualistic and all that, but that's just the way energy works. It's an energetic fact. So anyway, let's see. What else? What other questions do we have here? I feel the sudden urge to go to the casino. I'm assuming that's a joke, but that's a truth. That goes back to the greed, the difference between selfishness and greed. Greed means that you don't have enough and you need something to fulfill you. Going to the casino, besides being an addiction like drugs and anything else, operates from the idea that you don't have enough, so let's go gamble so I can make money. So no, that wouldn't be part of selfishness. That would be part of what I call greed. And greed is diverting you from the belief that you are everything and that you have everything available to you. We've got this here. I love doing things for others, not because I feel it makes me a better person, but because we need to love one another in this dark age. I don't know you well enough to know how true that statement is for you. But I do know that there are people who could honestly say that statement and be completely snowing themselves about their own need and their own selfishness, their own greed. We do not need to love one another. If you look at other people and you feel this dying pit of despair inside of you, and so you feel the need to love them, that's what they call projection. Psychologists say you project onto the world what's within you. It means you need love. You feel that you need other people to love you. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I am saying that you need to be honest and you need to own that. That's your need. And at some point, we all come to the realization that human beings can only give us so much love. And then at some point, there is never enough love. There isn't. If we have a hole inside of us, it doesn't matter how many people love you or how much they love you, it will never be enough. And the same is true for others. No matter how much you pour your love onto other people, if they don't love themselves, your love is being wasted. I never give my love to people who can't take it and absorb it and use it and then reflect it back. I never do. Because I'm not going to co-sign the belief that they are incomplete. I am not serving them if I do that. So that's a deeper subject, and that's what I mean. When you start to do this, you're going to bump into some things that are going to be challenging, and this is going to be part of it. So, Chris Lee, I'm not necessarily saying this applies to you, because it is true. Everything you're saying is true. We do need to love one another in this dark age. That's absolutely true. But you cannot love anyone else before you are feeling the love within yourself for yourself. Until you have that, your love will not have the effect that you want it to have. My belief. All right, so a lot more stuff here. Never forget the simple concept of what good and evil is. That sounds very Christian to me. I don't know if you're born-again Christian. I'm not. I'm not a monotheist. I don't believe that there is good and evil. I believe that there is health and unhealth. I believe there's balance and imbalance. There is only life and the lack thereof. So more than likely, you're trying to tell me never forget the basics. You and I probably have some differences of opinion, which I'm happy to talk about. But if you look at some of my videos, you'll see that I'm coming from a very different place than I think you're coming from. I don't know you well enough to know, but that's what I'm seeing here. Okay, what else? We are all victims of living. I'm not a victim. You can be one if you want. I'm not. What's the one truth? You'll have to watch it from the beginning. I feel like I missed out. Go ahead and start from the beginning. It'll be recorded later. All these, by the way, these recordings are going to be archived. You can watch them later. What's the best way to be self-focused and be in a so-called helping profession like nursing? That's a great question. That's a very long question. Renee is one of my apprentices, so that's a question for us to talk about, because I can help you with that. I'm trying to find a question here, so just give me a second. Let's see if I find one now. What's the point of living then? Very simply, the point of living is to achieve your joy. Period. There is nothing else. I've got a book that's called The Secret Shamanic Commandment to a Perfect Life. I don't know what the title is, but it's basically that there's one commandment. There are not 10 commandments. There's only one. And the one commandment is live your life in such a way where you achieve your greatest joy. That is what you were created for. The universe, the essence of the universe is joy. That doesn't mean that there aren't challenges or difficulties, because we created this human life in order for our infinite soul to learn and to grow. The challenges that we face will all be connected to this one truth, which is that the only thing that matters is living for yourself, your own spiritual happiness. And that when you live that way, then you are everything. And we run into challenges to learn that lesson. And we do it over and over and over and over and over again. So if you want to know how to get to Valhalla, dying in battle means living your life fearlessly and experiencing, because when we're done with this life, there's only going to be one question that we ask ourselves. And that is going to be, did I get everything I could out of this life? Did I experience it? If you look at it this way, if you want to look at it from a religious standpoint, because some people, this can work in their brains. God created the world. He created this wonderful world and this wonderful universe. And you have a responsibility to enjoy and appreciate as much of it as possible. If you're spending time worrying about things that are out of your control, when you could be enjoying the taste of an apple, or enjoying the fresh air, or in my case, going out and surfing a wave, or being with the one that you love, or doing some piece of art or something that gives you joy, that's energy that's wasted. That's time that's wasted you can never get back. So when it comes to other people, what you do is you do what you can. And you have to learn what you can and can't do. And when you've done what you can, you let go. And you let them do whatever they're going to do, and you don't waste any time worrying about them. The best thing you can do once you've given everything that you honestly can to somebody, the best thing you can do for people who are struggling is to go do something that makes you happy, that gives you joy. And then by that you will be helping not only them, but all beings in the universe. Okay, synchronicity, as somebody said here. Anyway, so that's going to be it for now. For those of you, again, if you're new to the channel, I strongly recommend that you go back and watch all of the videos. Watch the playlists. I get people asking me questions. Most of the time, 98% of the time, I've already answered that question in one of the videos, the free videos here on this YouTube channel. For those of you that want to learn, like people who ask me, you know, how do I get this into my life? Then you can work with me either privately, have a private session with me, or you can go to the Patreon subscriber page, and which I call the Master Class. And so let me briefly talk about that. So I don't have the ability to do it here, but you'll see it at some point. Patreon.com, patreon.com/ThunderWizard. Go to that website and you'll see the Masterclass page that I have. And there are multiple levels of subscription. Patreon is actually designed for people who are, fan funding, who are, trying to get funding from fans. So if you just want to show your appreciation for this channel, you can just subscribe at $5 a month, and you can know that you are encouraging me and allowing me to continue to give away these free teachings onto YouTube. And then there are multiple levels beyond that where you can get access to subscriber-only videos, where for 1 hour every week on average, I'm gonna get at least 4 lessons in per month, 4 1-hour lessons per month, very specifically focused on A to Z practical things about shamanism and energy work and everything that we're talking about, but on a very practical level. So subscribers beyond the $5 level will all get access to those. There are various levels above that where you get not only access to the videos, but then you can work with me on a one-on-one basis, and that goes up, depending on all kinds of things. You can even be an executive producer of this channel if you want. There's an option for that. But my goal with that is to get people at the level of the subscriber level where they get access to the videos. That's my main goal, because I only have so much time. I can only work one-on-one with so many people. So what I want is to get that aspect of subscribership unlimited. And my first goal is 250. I want 250 subscribers at that second level, where they and then people can start working together. So go on there and go on to where it says the community, something like that. There's a page where you can hit community. I want you guys to talk with each other there. You can even go there from this channel and connect with people and get study groups together. We'll work more on that, and I'll work more on how to organize all of that as time goes on. It's still taking shape, this whole thing. But that's where I recommend you go next. Otherwise, I do ask that you subscribe to this channel and set your settings so that you know when I'm on here live, or that you know when I put up a video. Of course, like and comment. And again, if you have questions about videos, put them in the comment section. If you want to work with me directly, then you can email me and we can work out something like that. So having said that, my friends, I still think that you might still be able to fan fund on YouTube, although I understand YouTube is going to take that off if I understand that right. So if you want to give money here on this channel, you can do so, but you kind of have to do it right now before they get rid of it. But other than that, the best way to contribute to the channel, besides watching it and subscribing and doing what I teach and watching the videos, is to go onto the Patreon site and subscribe at whatever level you're interested in. So anyway, with that, my friends, just going to double check. Yep, looks like we've got all the questions done there. So with that, my friends, I am going to wish you a happy rest of the January, and I look forward to whatever other burr I get in my saddle that makes me have to go on live and rant for an hour and a half. Okay, so that's it, my friends. Thank you. Until next time, may the gods of our ancestors be with you.